Hey, thanks for coming by. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to go over getting those portable batteries to charge faster in your vehicle. Let's head over to the Jeep for some proof of concept. I have the Bluetti EB55 battery here. I'm charging from the 12-volt cigarette lighter. You can see it's charging between 50 and 60 watts. It does the same when directly hooked up to the battery as well. The problem here is the charge controller is able to do about 200 watts maximum. There are two things keeping us from getting that full 200 watts. The first problem here is the charge controller can only take 8 amps at a time. We're running a 12-volt system right now, so 12 volts at 8 amps is around 96 watts. Well, you might say to yourself, 96 is way bigger than the 60 you were getting. The problem is the 12 volt in the Jeep is unregulated, so the charge controller can't get full power. I usually give more detailed how-tos, but I'm just going to sort of show you how I did this. This one comes along with a hefty fire hazard if you don't know what you're doing. So have some basic 12-volt knowledge. I will leave a link in the description below to everything you need, but then I'm leaving it up to you to burn your own vehicle down. Let's head over to the battery and start this. Don't mind all the weird decorations. It's spooky season and I like to decorate. And we're at my very overloaded battery. Speaking of fires, I should probably get a bus bar and clean up this wiring a bit. Now, if we head in a little closer here, this is the new wiring I put in for the step-up converter. I used 10 gauge due to the voltage calculator telling me I needed 11. I will leave a link to that calculator as well in the description. With all 12 volt, you always want to fuse as close to the battery as you possibly can. That way, if there's a short, it will pop the fuse instead of starting a fire. This wire just runs up and around the top of the Jeep to the other side. Down in the well here, we have the 12 volt converter. I also put in a relay here for the switch inside. So hidden down here a bit more, we have 12 volt 20 amp going into the converter, then some magic happens and 24 volt 10 amp comes out. The charge controller is 8 amps, so we have 2 amps to spare. This is then wired so it runs into the cab of the Jeep. We come in the floorboard. I of course came in through the firewall, up and through the dash, and around to my switch panel. And this is where I wired the relay to the switch. This way I can turn it on and off. You'll see from this we're getting 24.1 volts. The refresh rate of the camera isn't quite lining up with the LEDs, but I think you can see it. So then we'll head to the back. I ran the wire through the dash again, back around to the back, where I have an Anderson plug set up to charge the battery. Fast forward to the future here, we've got the battery hooked up to the Anderson plug. You can see it's charging in the 170s, so we're doing 3 times the charging we were before. This will definitely make it much easier to keep the battery topped off on trips. So I think that about covers everything I did to fix this problem. Again, I usually go a little more in depth with these tutorials, but this one has a little danger attached to it. This also isn't hard, you just need some basic 12 volt knowledge to keep this safe. If there's enough interest, I can do a more detailed video on how all this is actually wired up, how relays work, how your 12 volt system works. Let me know in the comments below if you want that. And as always, you don't need any of this nonsense to go on an adventure. Now get out there and see the stars!